Hello, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we will be discussing the MSc entrance examination questions in chemistry of Karnataka University, Dharwad. And in the previous part, we have seen inorganic questions, and in this particular part, we shall discuss organic questions, that is starting from question number 18 up to question number 34. Let's begin with the first question. First question, it is very simple one. It is based on IUPAC nomenclature of organic compounds. So they have given the structure, and for this structure you need to identify the correct IUPAC name. For this we need to do the numbering first, right? So long chain we need to select. So this will be the long chain, longest chain containing 4 carbon atoms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbon atoms. And the numbering, either it can be done from this carbon end or it can be done from this carbon end. But if you know the rules, this functional group alkene, it should get the least numbering, and even the substituents, they should get the least numbering. So based on all those things, the numbering, it can be done in this way. Longest chain, it has been selected, and numbering, it should be done in this way, right? So now we can see that in the second position we have alkene double bond, in the second position we have chloro substitution, in the third position we have iodo substitution. So further, if you look at the things here, one more thing that you can notice is that they have used cis and trans nomenclature. Strictly speaking, in this case, written nomenclature, it is not applicable. We should go with E and Z nomenclature. Definitely you can go through E and Z nomenclature, which will be very important concept, right? And but still cis and trans, it has been given. So like if we can think of applying cis and trans, you can see that priority groups on this carbon atom, you have priority groups chlorine, as well as on this carbon atom priority group iodine. So they are on opposite sides, so therefore this should be trans. And on that basis, first thing what we can do is we can just discard the options where they have mentioned cis. We need to just think of trans, right? So as we have seen, the positions of chlorine and iodine, it will be 2 and 3, and position of double bond, it will be second position. So based on that, correct answer, it should be trans 2 chloro 3 iodo 2 pentene, pent 2 in or 2 pentene. So this will be the answer. IUPAC nomenclature, it is one of the very important section where you can definitely expect questions. So you should be well versed with this. So of course, this is simple molecule. You can do the nomenclature of little complicated molecules also. Let me move on to the next question. Second question, again, very important type of questions that you can expect in any of the competitive exams. It is for the identification of R and S nomenclature based on CIP priorities, Khan Ingold Prelog priorities. We can number, or we can name the or we can give the absolute configuration at the chiral centers. 2 chiral centers are there on this tartaric acid molecule. Actually, it is tartaric acid molecule, and they have asked you to identify the absolute configuration at second as well as third chiral center, right? So you might be knowing. Let's do that. First, let's concentrate on this second carbon atom. So if you look at the second carbon atom, according to CIP rules, we need to assign the priorities, right? So based on CIP rules, if you are not well versed with CIP rules, you should learn that. Only then you can assign priorities easily. So now if I go on assigning the priorities, this OH, because it is directly attached to oxygen, so this should take first priority group, it should be here. Second priority group, if I look at here, you have carbon atom, and this carbon atom further it is attached to carbon and oxygen, whereas this carbon atom, it is attached to COOH group. COOH, if you expand, it will be giving you C double bond O and C single bond O on expansion. So therefore, according to CIP rules, this should take second priority, right? Hydrogen, always it takes last priority, and therefore this third carbon atom, this carbon atom, yes, it should take third priority, and fourth priority group, it will be hydrogen. Now if I trace this path, so I can see that 1, 2, 3, fourth group I can just neglect while taking whether it is anti-clockwise or clockwise rotation. So now what you can see here is that it is like 1, 2, 3 like this. Fourth, you can just skip it. So 1, 2, 3, it is this priority, or it is taking anti-clockwise rotation. So if it is anti-clockwise rotation, it should have been S. But you should know further one thing, that fourth priority group in this representation, this is called as Fisher projection formula. In the Fisher projection, if fourth group it is on horizontal line, then you need to change this to R, right? So therefore this will not be R, this will not be S, this will be R, right? In case this fourth priority group, if it was on a vertical line in Fisher projection, then you could have retained S, but because this fourth priority group it is on horizontal line, you should change this to R. So at second, it should be R. Similarly, we can assign the priorities to the groups which are attached to this third carbon atom, and let's do that again. OH here, it is same thing, same kind of groups. Here it should be first priority to OH group, second priority to this COOH group, so which is present above, that has been written here. Third priority it should be given to this, and fourth priority it is to be given to this hydrogen. So now again, if you look at the clockwise or anti-clockwise rotation, so it is 1 2 3 4 like this. Again it is anti-clockwise rotation itself, right? So again it is anti-clockwise rotation itself. So anti-clockwise rotation means same thing, it should have been S, right? But again same thing, that here also the fourth priority group, it is on horizontal line, so therefore this cannot be S. When there is fourth priority group on horizontal line, you need to just change that, so therefore this should be R. So now absolutely we have decided the configurations at second chiral center as well as third chiral center, second as well as third position. R configuration 2R 3R, that should be the correct answer, and one of the option C, it is 2R 3R, that is the correct answer for this, right? Definitely you need to practice this R and S nomenclature for different types of representations, like perspective formula, when it is given in perspective formula, when it is given in Fisher projection. Very important kind of questions in any of the competitive examinations. Let's move on to the next question. So the next question is based on hydroboration oxidation. So they have given styrene, and styrene they have given the conditions of hydroboration oxidation. So hydroboration means it will be first reacted with B2H6 diborane, and the product on oxidation with alkaline peroxide. So totally this condition it is called as hydroboration oxidation. So what will be the product of hydroboration oxidation of styrene? That is the question, right? So if you know this hydroboration oxidation, definitely this question it can be answered easily. So in a simple way, if these conditions and if this reaction sequence, if it is to be depicted, it can be said like this. So styrene, when in the first step it undergoes hydroboration, though we show B2H6 in hydroboration oxidation, in hydroboration step we can consider that it will be simply addition of BH3, or in other words, like one B2H6 can react with two molecules of this, right? So you can just simply say that it will be addition of BH3 to this double bond, right? And one important thing, during this addition it will be following anti-Markovnikov's addition. Usually Markovnikov's addition will happen, but in the case of hydroboration condition it will be anti-Markovnikov's addition. So hydrogen from this entity, it will go to that carbon atom which is associated with less number of hydrogen atoms. So therefore here two hydrogens you can find, here one hydrogen you can find. Hydrogen part it will come here, and the BH2 part it will come here. This is in fact simple representation. The actual reaction it will be a little different, which will be shown later, right? And in the second step we can go for alkaline oxidation with the help of alkaline hydrogen peroxide, and this BH2 it will be replaced with OH, and the product it should be this PhCH CH2OH, right? So very important thing is that if it was not anti-Markovnikov's addition, the OH group it would have been attached here, but because it is anti-Markovnikov's addition, so OH group it will be attached here, and the corresponding other product that is also there here. I think here they have mentioned here both the carbon atoms they have been given with hydroxy group, so that cannot happen. Therefore this option B it should be the correct answer for this, right? So as I said, the actual reaction it will be little different. So the reaction it will not stop at this stage here in the first step. So this BH2 it will further react with two more molecules of styrene to produce a product like this, right? Boron it will be attached to 3 styrene molecules, and then it will be undergoing oxidation reaction to produce the required alcohol, right? So actually that will be the reaction, but it can be simply understood in this manner, right? Let's move on to the next question, 21st question. This is again a very typical kind of question based on aromaticity. So what they have asked is 3 structures they have given, and among these structures, these 3 structures which are aromatic, that is the thing, right? You should know that for a compound, if it is to be aromatic, these 3 conditions should be followed. First one, it should be cyclic. Second one, it should be planar. And third one, I can say there should be continuous delocalization of pi electrons, continuous delocalization, right? And once these conditions are satisfied, then we can look at the 4th condition, very important one, which is known as Huckel's rule. That is, it should have 4n plus pi electrons. 4n plus 2 pi electrons, 4n plus 2 pi electrons. So if all these conditions are satisfied, then the compound, it will be aromatic. This you might be knowing. Of course, in this case, in these three cases, all these first three conditions, they are satisfied. All the three compounds, they are cyclic, they are planar, and contains delocalization. It is possible. Now we need to just inspect this fourth condition, that is Huckel's rule. That is, we need to count the total number of pi electrons which are available for delocalization, right? Very important type of question. So if I do that, for this you can find only two bonds here, two pi bonds here, and no pairs of electrons left over nitrogen. So therefore in this case what you have is just 4 pi electrons. In this case here itself I write it is 4 pi electrons. In the second case, if you look at two pi bonds you have, along with that carbon, it has negative charge. So this negative charge, it represents a pair of electrons. So therefore in this case totally 6 pi electrons you have, and you must be knowing this fact that 6 pi electrons, it is actually this 4n plus 2 pi electron condition. N, if you substitute 1, so in that case 4 into 1 will be 4, 4 plus 2 it will be 6. 6 pi electrons means it is satisfying Huckel's rule, right? And again in the third condition, if you look at here, it is plus charge. So because of plus charge, delocalization, it is possible, but total number of pi electrons available, it will be just 4 in this case also. So therefore in first and 3, right, though all other conditions are satisfied, this Huckel's rule, it is not satisfied. It is satisfied only in the structure 2, which is cyclopentadienyl anion. And of course you must be knowing the fact that cyclopentadienyl anion, it is aromatic species. So therefore the option that is the given structure 2, option C, 2 only. This is the correct answer for the question. Next question, it is also a very simple question. If you have basic idea of organic reaction mechanism, this question, it can be answered quite easily. Which of the following is not an electrophile? Very important thing is that there is a not here. So because we should be very careful while reading the question. Usually we will be having the habit of not reading the question properly. We just skip the words, and there are all chances that you may just read it as which of the following is an electrophile. So if you read it in that way, so like readily you can answer SO2 or CO2, whatever you notice immediately that as the answer, because they have asked that which is not an electrophile. So among these 4 options given, 3 will be electrophiles itself and only 1 will be different, right? And if you know which is different here, that is this NH3. NH3, you must be knowing that because of the lone pairs which are available on nitrogen, it can act as nucleophile and it is not an electrophile, whereas all other 3, SO2, carbon dioxide, and this is carbene, right? So all these 3, they will be acting as electrophiles. Electrophiles means electron deficient species. Electrophiles, they are not electron deficient species, they are electron loving species. Electrophile, phile means it is love or loving. So therefore electrophile means they are electron loving species. Yes, electron loving means they should be electron deficient species, right? And among these only this is electron rich, so therefore this can act as nucleophile. All others, they are electrophile. So the correct answer for this, which is not an electrophile, it is option B. This is the correct answer. The next question, it is based on isomerism, right? So in isomerism, this metamerism and structural isomerism, it is very basic. At this level, definitely you cannot expect questions related to this. That doesn't mean that you will not get any questions related to this, but at this level you can expect questions related to, say, geometrical as well as optical isomerism, which is called as stereoisomerism. So now the question, maleic acid and fumaric acid, these two are very classic examples for geometrical isomer. And geometrical isomer means like structure wise everything will be same, but the fact that groups, they will be oriented in different direction with respect to double bond, with respect to ring, or with respect to rigidity. Usually with respect to double bond we talk, and maleic acid and fumaric acid structures are given here. As you can find here, with respect to this double bond, these two COOH groups, they are cis with respect to each other in case of malic acid, whereas the same groups, COOH groups, they are opposite to each other, or with respect to this double bond, they are trans to each other in fumaric acid. So therefore maleic acid and fumaric acid, they are very classic examples of geometrical isomers, and the corresponding isomerism here that is exhibited is geometrical isomerism. So optical isomerism means the compounds which are having chirality, so they will be having different optical rotation. One will be rotating the plane of plane polarized light towards right, whereas the other one, it will be rotating the plane of plane polarized light towards left. So that will be optical isomerism. You can just go through that, but here in this case it is geometrical isomerism. Let's move on to the next question. Again, it is based on stereochemistry itself, but this time it is based on conformational analysis. Very simple molecule they have chosen. It is in fact ethane, right? And they say that in case of Newman projection formula of ethane, so this kind of representation, it is called as Newman projection. And they have given two different Newman projections of ethane molecule. Which is the stable one that they have asked? You might be knowing that this second one, whatever they have given, it is actually eclipsed. This is eclipsed one, right? Whereas this one, it is called as staggered, right? So now among eclipsed and staggered, in the case of eclipsed, the electron pairs of this CH bond, they will be interacting very strongly with the electrons of this CH bond, because of which torsional strain that will destabilize these molecules. Therefore, this eclipsed conformation, it will be less stable as compared to that of staggered, and therefore staggered conformation, it will be more stable. Of course, both 1 and 2, they are stable, that is meaningless. So like in this case, staggered conformation, that is option B, 1 only, that should be the correct answer, right? For your reference, I am including the total conformational analysis of this ethane molecule. You can find it here. So all these representations with respect to the angle of rotation, if you just notice these two hydrogens, right, with respect to these two bonds, if one of the carbon atom, it is rotated by different angles, how different conformers will result, that has been given here. So all these represent staggered, whereas all this, they represent eclipsed conformations, right? So this is total conformational analysis of ethane molecule. Definitely you can do this for little higher example like butane, for N-butane conformational analysis. That will also be very, very important. So there you will come across some more conformers beyond this eclipsed and staggered. So definitely you can do the conformational analysis of N-butane also. Next question is based on reaction. The following reaction is an example of, right? So all these are based on named reactions. If you know the facts, you can answer the questions. Otherwise, it goes difficult. So in this reaction, phenol, it is undergoing condensation with formaldehyde. This is formaldehyde. Scientific IUPAC name, it is methanol. Phenol, it is reacting with the formaldehyde in presence of acid or base to produce benzyl alcohols. Para-hydroxy-benzyl alcohol is also produced, and ortho-hydroxy-benzyl alcohol is also produced, which means this methanol, it is getting added to this position, and methanol, it is getting added to this position also. If you look at the mechanism, this reaction, it is possible both in acid as well as in base catalyzed manner. So in both the mechanisms, you can definitely find why the group, it will attach to ortho and para position, and this is straight away Lederer-Menassie reaction, right? So therefore option D is the answer. Straight away, if you know the named reaction, you can answer such questions. And other reactions, Coles reaction, Claisen rearrangement, Gutterman synthesis, all these are important named reactions. So like as a preparation, when you are solving questions or when you are preparing with the help of previous questions, it is not that just you should answer the questions which are there with you, but beyond that you should think. You can just go through all these rearrangements and all these reactions, and you can just know what those are. Let's move on to the next question. Again, very, very straight away, very, very simple question. It is based on Friedel-Crafts reaction, right? So Friedel-Crafts reaction, which type of reaction it is, that they have asked, whether it is nucleophilic substitution, electrophilic substitution, nucleophilic addition, electrophilic addition, what type of reaction it is. Friedel-Crafts acylation, it's very, very simple or very, very basic thing. It is example for electrophilic substitution reaction. So in electrophilic substitution reaction of benzene ring, you must have studied chlorination, Friedel-Crafts alkylation, and Friedel-Crafts acylation. All these are electrophilic substitution reactions. You can go through the mechanism of all these. Definitely it will be very basic and very important. So now Friedel-Crafts acylation reaction, I have shown it here. Acylating agent, usually it will be acetyl chloride. In this place, acetic anhydride can also be used, but usually acetylating agent, it will be acetyl chloride when it reacts with benzene. So to one of the hydrogen atoms, it will be removed as H plus, and in that place, the CH3CO plus part, it will be added. So therefore, that's how it is electrophilic substitution. Electrophile, it will be this part after losing the Cl minus. When this reacts with AlCl3, this Cl, it will be taken up by this Lewis acid catalyst AlCl3, and Cl, it will be removed as AlCl4 minus, and plus charge will be produced here. So this will be electrophile. This electrophile, it will be replacing one of the H plus here. That's how it is electrophilic substitution reaction, and the product, it will be acyl group attached to benzene ring, right? So the correct answer for this, it is this electrophilic substitution reaction. Just I am providing some extra information along with the information whatever is necessary to solve the question. Let's move on to the next question. Again, it is based on a named reaction. The condensation of a carbonyl compound, and some named reactions are there in your your carbonyl compounds, that is especially aldehydes and ketones, and even in the case of ester. So all those named reactions, they will be definitely important. Some of them they have given here, right? All these are related to carbonyl compounds itself, and you should know, you are expected to know all these reactions with their mechanisms. So let's come to this particular reaction. So they say the carbonyl compound, it reacts with alpha halo ester in presence of base to form alpha beta epoxy ester. This is an example for, right? So even if you do not know the answer exactly for this, the other three options what they have given, they are simple. In the case of aldol reaction, product will be aldol. In the case of Claisen as well as in Dickmann, these are similar. One is intermolecular, this one Claisen, it is intermolecular, Dickmann, it will be intramolecular. So in both the cases, the product, it will be beta ketoester, right? So in aldol, Dickmann and Claisen, the product, it will not be epoxic ester, but here it will be beta ketoester, and here can expect aldol. So on that basis itself, it is possible to answer that this should be Darzan's reaction, right? Otherwise, what is Darzan's reactions? Darzan's reaction, you can just have a look at here, right? So as they have mentioned everything, this is carbonyl compound, it is alpha halo with respect to carbonyl. This position, it is called as alpha position. So here alpha halo compound it is. So when these two react, they will produce this kind of epoxy ester. So that will be Darzan's reaction. Briefly, I have given the mechanism here. Very simple mechanism, easily it can be understood. So this strong base NaOH EtO minus, it will abstract proton from here. This will be acidic proton that they have shown here, and that will generate a minus charge here, and that minus charge, it will be delocalized over this carbonyl region, and that will generate some two resonating structures. And later when carbon-carbon bond is formed, that is from this resonating structure, this minus charge, it can attack this carbonyl, and new carbonyl carbon-carbon bond will be formed. And finally, when this minus charge interacts here, if you know the mechanism, all these things are very basic. This oxygen, it becomes minus. That O minus, when it attacks this position, this Cl minus, it will be removed, and the mechanism followed here, it will be SN2, and the product, it will be epoxy ester, right? So that is Darzan's reaction. Straight away, this is Darzan's reaction. Next question, this is also very, very important one. So this is actually based on Gilman's reagent. So this reagent, whatever they have given here, CH3-Culi, this reagent, it is very popularly known as Gilman's reagent. This is Gilman's reagent. And you should know the fact that this Gilman's reagent is used for 1,4 addition. So unfortunately in this question, so all the options what they have given, they are actually incorrect. In fact, in option B, there is double bond missing here, right? So either there should be double bond here, or this OH, it should have been represented as double bond O, right? Let's assume that here double bond should be there, and that has been misprinted, right? And 1,4 addition, if you know that Gilman's reagent, it is 1,4 addition, so then you can just guess that option B should be the answer. And in other cases, they have not 1,4 addition, and they have not done 1,4 addition, so therefore option B should be the answer. So if we go through more details, here I have given the mechanism. First, this reagent, it is adding, or it is attacking this CH3, it will be attached as CH3 minus nucleophilic addition to this position, right? Then the double bond, it will be shifted to this position, and this double bond, it will be taking up or it will be moving towards oxygen, and here this will be O minus, and Li plus, it will stabilize it. So you will get the enolate. This enolate, it is resonance stabilized, right? So then when you go for acidic workup, so this minus charge, if it picks up proton, so you can get this compound. Of course, they have not represented this compound. So otherwise, what we can think is the other tautomeric form of this compound. In that way also we can think. Otherwise, we can even think that if protonation, if it happens in this position, the other product that you can expect, it will be this, right? Let's assume that simply protonation, it is happening here. Of course, this compound being more stable, product whatever they have shown, this compound being more stable, this we can expect. But the other tautomeric form of this, if I write, so that can be simply written thinking that this OH, it will be this O minus, it will be undergoing protonation, right? And this double bond, it will be as it is, and here it will be CH3 group. So this should have been the answer, and that is option B. So therefore option B should have been the correct answer for this, right? So other thing, along with this, other thing that you should know in presence of Gilman's reagent, if it was simply not Gilman's reagent, but if it was simply Grignard's reagent, in that case it could have been 1,2 addition. So you are expected to know this. Gilman's reagent, it is giving you, here you can find that Gilman's reagent is giving you 1,4 addition product, whereas if it was Grignard's reagent like CH3MgCl, similar conditions, instead of Gilman's reagent, if it was Grignard's reagent, the product, it will be 1,2 addition product. Here in the alcoholic form itself they have shown, right? So that fact you should know. 1,2 addition for Grignard reagent, this one is Grignard reagent. For Gilman's reagent, it's conjugate addition or 1,4 addition. Let's move on to the next question. Very simple, based on the knowledge of practical organic chemistry, this question can be answered. Silver mirror test, it is used for silver mirror test, and the other name for this is Tollens reagent test. Tollens reagent test, as you might be knowing, it is used for aldehydes, and especially to distinguish aldehydes and ketones, this test it can be done, because aldehydes, they are more sensitive towards oxidation with this reagent. Ammonical silver nitrate, that will be the reagent which is used here. So ammonical silver nitrate or silver ions, they can oxidize the aldehyde functional group easily over ketones. So therefore this is to distinguish between aldehydes and ketones. So therefore what we need to search here is, we need to look for aldehyde. The first option, it is ketone, right? PhCO CH3, it is ketone. This one PhCHO benzaldehyde, that should be the answer, right? So other options, there are different functional groups. PhCOH, this is benzoic acid, and this one, it is simply phenol. So this is silver mirror test, it is used to identify aldehyde, therefore this is the answer, right? Just for your reference, the reaction it is given, benzaldehyde, this is the final reagent whatever is formed when you use the Tollens reagent. Of course there is method to prepare that, but usually we call it as ammonical silver nitrate. So that one, it will produce this reagent, and this will oxidize this particular aldehydic functional group to carboxylic acid functional group. In turn, this silver, it gets reduced, and because of these silver particles, that silver mirror or black precipitate, sometimes whatever you get, that will be due to this silver, right? So answer, it is option B. Move on to the next question. This is based on spectroscopic technique, proton NMR, basic aspects of proton NMR you should know. You can expect questions. So now what they have asked is, for this simple compound, what is the nature of the proton NMR spectrum, that they have asked. So you can expect two signals, one due to these two hydrogens and other due to these three hydrogens. So these two hydrogens, if you consider, you should be knowing N+1 rule. Based on N+1 rule, this question, it can be answered quite easily. So in the vicinity, if you have three hydrogens, these two hydrogens, they will give you one signal, and that signal, it will split according to N+1 rule. Three hydrogens means 3+1 in the vicinity you should look at. So here two hydrogens, they will give you one signal. That signal, it will split due to these three hydrogens. Three hydrogens means it will split into 4, and that 4 we call it as quartet, right? And similarly, these three hydrogens, they can give you one signal, and that signal, it will split due to these two hydrogens. Again, same N+1 rule. So now if you consider, in the vicinity you can find two hydrogens, so therefore this three hydrogens, they should split into triplet. Remember, this is triplet, not because here there are three hydrogens. Most of the times there will be confusion that this will be triplet because these are three hydrogens. It's not so. This will be triplet because in its vicinity it has two hydrogens. So one triplet and one quartet, you can expect the answer to be one triplet and one quartet. You can find it here. Option D, that is the correct answer, right? For your reference, the exact NMR spectrum with some more details with their chemical shift values and other aspects, it has been given, but up to the question, this much information, it is sufficient. Next one, again simple question, which of the following is an alkaloid? So alkaloid means those are compounds which are naturally available usually with plants, and they will be containing nitrogen atoms, and usually they will be basic. So which is the compound which can be obtained from plants? You can simply interpret question in that way. So the straight away answer for this nicotine, it can be obtained from plants. Must be knowing tobacco plant, it contains nicotine, and even tea coffee, all these naturally they contain some amount of nicotine. So therefore this nicotine is the alkaloid. All other are not alkaloid. So their origin it will be different. They will be obtained from petroleum products and all. Right? For your reference, as I mentioned, alkaloids they are naturally occurring from plant and they are nitrogen containing compounds. Nicotine, what is the structure that has been given? So nicotine is the structure. So just to confuse you, what they have done is the nicotine structure, whatever it contains, that has been given. So this one, it is actually nitrogen containing heterocycle pyridine, and this one it is pyrrolidine, right? One of the options I have made it as pyrrolidine. Pyrrolidine, it is part of nicotine, but the whole nicotine structure it is this, and answer it is option D. The next question, it is based on amino acid. Straight away they have asked the amino acid which has no chiral center. You should know this. Glycine is the only amino acid which is not chiral, right? So glycine, it is the only amino acid which is not chiral. Except glycine, all other amino acids, naturally occurring amino acids, they will be definitely chiral. You can just interpret it in this way also. Only in glycine you can see that the 4 attached group to the carbon center, they are different, they are not totally different. So 2 hydrogens you can find. In all other cases, the groups attached to this particular carbon atom, they are different, and you might be knowing this fact that when a carbon is attached with 4 different groups, it will be chiral, right? So alanine, lysine and cysteine structures you can find here. In alanine, it will be like 1 hydrogen they have not shown here, other 3 groups they have shown, it's CH3. And in the case of lysine structure you can find it here. So to this carbon atom it will be CH2, CH2, NH2, or even in protonated form NH3 plus can be shown. Lysine, you must be knowing that it is example for basic amino acid. That additional information is also there here. So like questions can be like, which among the following is basic, which among the following is acidic amino acid. In that way also questions can be asked. Amino acid, all the structures you should know. Definitely it will be very, very important. Cysteine, you can find it here. It is sulfur containing amino acid. Cysteine and methionine, these two, they are examples for sulfur containing amino acids. Some additional information about the structures of amino acids you must know. Next one, again it is based on UV visible spectroscopy. So in UV visible spectroscopy, bathochromic shift, this term it will be used. In fact, regarding that they have asked the question. So what you call when the spectral band position in the absorption spectrum of a molecule shifts to a longer wavelength? That is the question. So actually it is bathochromic shift. So that can be explained with the help of this diagram. This will be a typical representation of absorption peak, whether it is UV or visible. Let's assume that this is a UV peak of organic compound, right? So by any consequences, if this peak position it shifts to right, so right means it will be towards longer wavelength, and longer wavelength means it is towards lesser energy or towards lesser frequency. That will be called as bathochromic shift or red shift. If the peak it is shifting towards left, in that case it will be called as hypsochromic, or it will be called as blue shift. So this will be towards higher energy. And this one, hyperchromic and hypsochromic. So if this peak absorption, this epsilon, this one epsilon value, so if that increases by some consequence, it will be called as hyperchromic. If that decreases, it will be called as hypsochromic. So here the question, it is about the movement towards longer wavelength. So longer wavelength means it should be obviously bathochromic shift. Last question from the organic. It is based on drugs and their structures. So the following structure is of this structure they had given, and they had asked, what is this? So straight away, this is the structure of ibuprofen. Of course, now if you know the structures of all these drug molecules, then you can answer, otherwise it's not possible. So the other options, whatever they have given, structures have been given for that. So this is in fact diclofenac. So this will be C, chloramphenicol, and this will be D. And this one, as it is answer, this is the structure of ibuprofen, right? You should know these structures, then this can be answered. So yeah, these were the questions which had appeared in KUD entrance examination from organic section. So in the next video, we shall see the questions from physical chemistry section, that's 35 to 50. Thank you for watching this video, and these questions have been provided by Mrs. Divya Hegden and Mrs. Valerie D'Souza. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe to this channel to get the notifications of future videos. You can just press the bell icon so that you will be notified when I publish the next video. Thank you again.